Hi there, Internet. My name's Court, and you've got courtside seats for my review of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Let's do it. Venom, Let There Be Carnage is an action sci-fi thriller from director Andy Serkis and Sony. The film stars Tom Hardy, Woody Harrelson, Michelle Williams, Naomie Harris, Reid Scott, and Stephen Graham. Eddie Brock struggles to adjust to his new life as the host of the alien symbiote Venom, which grants him superhuman abilities in order to be a lethal vigilante. Brock attempts to reignite his career by interviewing serial killer Cletus Kasady, who becomes the host of the symbiote Carnage and escapes prison after a failed execution. I watch a lot of movies doing what I do. The bad thing about that is, once I've watched a movie and reviewed it, I kind of move on to the next one, and very quickly forget how I felt about it. The good thing is, ever since I started doing reviews on my channel, I have the videos out there for posterity to remind myself. Now, I recall not loving the first Venom, but after I saw this sequel, I had to go back and revisit the review of the first one because I hadn't rewatched it. Turns out I was not a big fan of the first one overall, and that's pretty much where I land on this one as well. I do think this one is an improvement in some ways and a step back in other ways, but we'll get to that. I like Tom Hardy in this role. Sure, he's a little mumbly, but that's Tom Hardy. Still, I find him entertaining, and one of the main things that really worked about the first one for me was the sort of banter between Brock and Venom. That's where all the big laughs came from. In this one, they really lean into the sort of odd couple dynamic, and not only did it not make me laugh here, I actually kind of hated it and found the dynamic both obnoxious and tedious. It's also interesting to note that in the first one, when Hardy was doing Venom's voice, I didn't really hear any Bane in it. Heard a lot of Bane in this one. I don't know why. Once again, Michelle Williams is completely wasted as a tertiary character that adds very little to the plot. I didn't even recognize that was Naomie Harris in this flick. I thought she was perfectly fine in the role, but I did find her character was really over the top, which would have been cool, but she's often paired with Woody Harrelson's Cletus Kasady character, who is also in this case gloriously over the top, but it kind of just gives that pairing nowhere to go as far as dynamic is concerned. They're just both super crazy over the top. All that said, I really did like Woody Harrelson in here. I just like Woody Harrelson in general. I really kind of wish he would have been a little bit more unhinged though. He was a little bit more Mickey Knox in that he's crazy, but he's sort of in control. I kind of wanted to see him just going bonkers. But I did dig him. As for his Carnage voice, we do hear a little bit of that Harrelson Texas twang in there, but it's still the kind of gravelly, bass-heavy vocoder voice thing, which does make him sound very similar to Venom. I feel like a little bit more variances in the voices would have been an asset. But the Carnage introduction scene is pretty awesome, and he did look really cool. And fortunately, they got rid of that ridiculous red wig that Harrelson was wearing at the end of the first one. And I'll say this too. Carnage is definitely a much more interesting villain than Riz Ahmed's character in the first. That said, Kasady has a character motivation in here that really didn't work for me at all. Like, they tried to humanize him at least somewhat with some backstory, and maybe that's right out of the comics. I have no idea. But I didn't buy it, and I don't think it was needed. Now, having looked back at my review of the first film, outside of the Eddie and Venom banter, one thing I apparently really didn't like about the first flick was the dialogue. And this is one category where the sequel improves upon its predecessor. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought the screenplay was brilliant or anything, but it didn't stand out as being bad, so that's something. For me though, the comedy in here really didn't work. Again, the Eddie Venom banter for one, but also there's a sequence, and you've seen it in the trailers, where Venom goes to a rave and he's wearing those like light up bracelets around his neck, and it just came across as so stupid. It was silly, it wasn't funny, and I kind of hated it. Now the visual effects in this flick are pretty much on par with the first one. They're not incredible, but there are moments where they look pretty darn good. And I thought the sound design was once again really, really strong. I'm an Andy Serkis fan, mostly as an actor, but as a director as well. I really liked that Mowgli flick he did a couple years ago. I didn't love what he did with this one though. He uses a lot of whip pans, and the camera is constantly moving, and it can get a little exhausting trying to follow the action. Fortunately, unlike Riot in the first film, Carnage looks significantly different from Venom. So in the final battle, we can actually tell the difference between the two characters. That's a good thing. It's also better lit, that is also a good thing, and I really did enjoy that final fight. But the very end of the movie, and I'm not talking about the post-credits, which we'll get to in a second, but the very end, like the final scene, I found it like unrelentingly cheesy. Having said that though, the mid-credit scene is pretty cool, and it will have implications going forward for both the Sonyverse and the MCU, so it's worth sticking around for. All in all, I was not a big fan of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, much like I wasn't a big fan of the first film. I think if you really did enjoy the first one, you'd probably really like this one. If you didn't like the first one, I would say save your money, skip it. Now, I don't have a proprietary rating system as of yet, so I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to give Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And I think I'm going to give Venom, Let There Be Carnage a...
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan. You should have respected my authority.
Out of 10. So now I want to know, have you seen Venom, Let There Be Carnage? What did you think about it? What's your favorite superhero movie of all time? Whatever your thoughts, hit the comments below. Let's discuss. If you enjoyed this review, please smash that like button and give it a share if you really enjoyed it. Just helps the video reach more people, helps the channel grow. I appreciate it very much. And hey, why not take a second, do me a favor, click subscribe and ring that bell to subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews, entertainment news, trailer reactions, all that good stuff. Hope you guys are all safe and healthy. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.